Hey, FYE Finance family, welcome to this edition of Flip It with Samara, another tutorial edition. So, on this edition, keeping with the theme of what we've been doing throughout the series, right? Showing you some tools that I have personally used that have brought me success along my financial journey. Now I am sharing those tools with you, right? So, again, at FYE Finance, we're all about education, we're all about elevation. If you have been rocking with us, for over the past year, you know just that, right? We have come before you and we've done a live week over week, sharing with you tips and strategies and now tools, right? Tools that you can utilize in order to help you no matter where you are along your financial journey. So, this tool tonight is a tool that I call the debt shrinker, right? And I call it that because we are going to be focusing on what we refer to in the business world as a balance sheet. So, this debt shrinker is a balance sheet for an individual, if you will. Okay, so definitely a very helpful tool to use, especially when you are trying to tackle your debt. Okay, I've talked about in previous lives about things like the debt snowball or debt avalanche, different strategies that you can use to tackle your debt. And so this tool was designed to help you visually see what debt you have, what your assets are, and what debt would probably be more beneficial for you to tackle. Because if you were following us, for a long time, you know that I use a mixture of the two, right? I use the debt snowball, but I also use the debt avalanche. And I encourage people to use whatever is going to be most beneficial for you, right? If you're a person that you get motivated by seeing results, that snowball is probably going to work for you. But if you're a person that likes to look at debt from an aspect of, hey, what am I currently paying on this as far as interest versus this? And does it make sense for me to pay the one that I'm paying the most interest on versus the one that's the smallest amount right now? Then maybe the debt avalanche is the one for you, right? So definitely know that in the past I have used both. Okay. And so I would encourage you to make that decision on yourself because, again, your financial journey is a very personal walk. We just want to help provide tools that we have used or that I have used along my financial journey that I thought were helpful to me. And hopefully they can be helpful to you. Right. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into it. Another Excel spreadsheet, right? I know y'all not tired of seeing Excel. Y'all are going to be Excel gurus when I'm done with you, right? Okay, so we're starting with the debt shrinker, okay? And on the debt shrinker, much like I do with all of the tools that you've seen so far, well, not all of them, but most of them, we have an introduction. So we tell you what the tool was designed for, why it was designed. Like I talk about where I was when I thought about this tool and what the purpose of this tool was. And then I give you instructions on how to use the tool. Okay. So it explains to you, how you should update your debt, the type of debt, the amount of the debt. It gives you different examples of your debt, and so forth, so forth. Okay. But there's also a section in here for assets as well. So we will talk about your assets as well and how you can update that and the purpose of me wanting you to see your assets in comparison to your debt. Okay. Because that is what determines your solvency. It's another term that I'm throwing out there. Now, that term is not in here, but as a tax strategy, and this is just a little tip, right? It's a bonus for you. There is something called the Solvency Rule. Okay, so if you were ever to get a debt forgiven, right? When that debt is forgiven, they usually give you a 1099 at the end of the year. And if you are deemed to be solvent, meaning you have more assets than you do debt, then they say, okay, yeah, this debt probably should not have been forgiven and you need to claim it as income. But if you are deemed to be insolvent, meaning you have more debt than you have income, then they felt like that debt was a legitimate, excusable debt and it should not be counted towards your income, right? So, just a bonus tip, right, of a tax strategy because your girl is a tax strategist. So, this tool will definitely help you determine whether you are solvent or insolvent, right? When we talk about your assets to your debt. So in the debt shrinker, at the top there is this asset section where you can put in the amount. So when you talk about assets, this is going to be the value of the asset that you own, okay? And then when you talk about the asset type, give a brief description of what you are capturing over here as the value. So let's say that you have a home and your home's value is $150,000. So we're going to reflect the value of the asset here, and the type of the asset is going to be here, and you can name it whatever. You can put your address in there if you want to do that, because if you have multiple homes, maybe that's what you want to do. Let's say that you have a vehicle and it's worth $50,000. You can put that in there. Well, not 500, Samara. You can put that in there, and you can say, hey, what type of asset is this? Is a car, and you can put the name of the car right there, right? So just understand that this is where your assets will be listed, okay? And then you can definitely put the type of asset it is and then give it a name, right? So make sure that you fill this out in its entirety with all of your assets, okay? Especially if you're trying to determine whether you are solvent or insolvent, okay? All right. Then this is where the magic happens. This is where we really start tackling that debt, okay? This is where you have your time to shine, okay? And when I say shine, you're going to shine because as you plug all of these numbers in, you're going to see what debt you should really be tackling first, or what would be most beneficial for you to tackle first, right? Depending on what type of person you are, right? You a person that's motivated by results, like instant results, or you're a person that's motivated by not paying as much to get that loan paid down. So again, whatever motivates you. So we start off here with the debt section. So when you think about debt, this is money that you owe. Okay, this money that you owe. So just like you reported up here that you have an asset, your home has an asset value of 150,000. Usually most of us are owning our home, meaning we haven't yet paid it off, right? So there's a debt attached to that. You have a loan, okay? So you would put that amount in here, right? If you want to be true, like if you want to compare apples to apples. So let's say that you still owe, I don't know, call it 75,000 on the home, right? But the original amount was 150, and let's just say that it didn't go up in value. So but we know that that's not the case. Your home is usually going to appreciate. So then the calculator tells you, or the tool tells you, okay, well, your debt ratio is 50%, meaning that you still owe 50% of that original debt amount, because we said, okay, we still owe 75,000 and the original amount was 150. So we still owe 50% of that debt, right? And ideally, you want to make sure that when you're talking about your debt ratio as it pertains to like credit bureaus, they want you to have your debt ratio to be 30% or less. Okay, so just FYI, just something to remember, that you want to target that to be 30% or less. All right. So along the lines of a debt to income ratio, which we'll talk about a little later on, but when we're looking at it from a credit bureau perspective, they like for that debt to be 30% or lower. Okay. So with that being said, your mortgage, your mortgage loan on your home, you have 50% of that to still pay off. You can put here the type of debt. This is a mortgage, okay. And then I have this section here talking about your debt weight. So all debt is not created equal. That's something that you want to understand. So when we talk about debt weight here, there are some debts that are weighted higher, right, than others. And when I say weighted higher, it means credit bureaus look at them more in a negative side, or they can hurt you more. I should say that. So mortgage debt, like your mortgage, if you had like a car note, that may not hurt you as much as, let's say, a revolving credit card. So like a credit card at Macy's or J.C. Penney's or Belk. Like if you have a high debt ratio on those cards, they are going to hurt you more than, let's say, your car loan or your mortgage. Now, why is that? For one, it's not secure, right? When you think about a mortgage or you think about a car, what happens if you don't pay the bill? They're going to repossess the item, right? There's an asset tied to that debt. So it's considered a secured loan. Okay. So don't pay your mortgage month over month and they're going to repossess your home. Don't pay your car note month over month and what? They're going to come repossess your car. So it's secured, right? The bank has something that they can go and repossess and take in order to get their money. Okay. Simply put. So when you have debt that is not secure, when you have like the J.C. Penney's cards or your Macy's cards, literally they're lending you money based on your word that you say you're going to pay them back. Right? And if you're not a person that keeps your word, then I mean you can imagine that risk, right, is going to be it's going to be a lot more riskier for the bank, and since you are a person that doesn't keep their word, they're going to punish you more for it, right? And so that's why those, the debt weight on those are a lot heavier, right? So when I talk about debt rate here, it's what's riskier versus what's not riskier. But you don't have to update this section. I just definitely put it here for you to be able to understand the different types of risk. So, like, if I were to determine what type of risk this was, I would say that this was low. But let's say that I had like a credit card, and that was the limit on it. It's 33%. And let's just say I said this is a CC for credit card. I would say that that was high, right? Because there's nothing to secure this particular loan, right? This debt. There's nothing that they can come and take in order to, recoup their payments should I not pay. Okay. So that debt weight is high. All right. And then here, this is the owner of the debt. So let's just say that this is Chase. I don't know. I'm just making up names. Let's just say that this is also Chase. And so that's where you would put like whoever owns or holds the debt, okay? Who you're currently making your monthly payments to. That's where you would put that, right? So again, very cool tool to use, very intuitive tool to use because it does like the heavy lifting as far as giving you your debt ratio here. Again, you want to target a debt ratio of 30% or lower. So let me see what happens if I change this. Oop, looks what happens. Green. Green is good. Remember, we said that, right? In previous life, green is good. So when that debt ratio is under that magic 30%, right, it's going to trigger it as being green. So that means that you can move on to another debt. So ideally what I do, and this is just personally me, what I do is I try to get all of my debt paid off first and foremost. But if you're trying to get that credit score improved, right, you're trying to make leaps or increases on your credit score, then what you want to do is make sure that at the bare minimum all of your debt is under that 30%. That's what I did. So I'm just personally telling you what I did in order to see a quick increase in the credit score, right? So it depends on what you're trying to do. Like ideally, you want all your debt to be paid off, right? But again, this is a journey and I understand that we're all at different places along this financial journey. So if you are a person who, hey, yeah, I want to pay off my credit card debt, but I'm also trying to get my credit score to go up. One thing that I did in order to do that while I was working towards paying off my debt was making sure that every one of my debts that I knew was high, like had a high weight, actually had a debt ratio that was 30% or below while continuing to pay off other debts. Okay. So, just a little tip on what I personally did. I'm not telling you that that's what you should do, not giving you any advice, but this is just showing you what I did in order to help me along my financial journey, right? And this is one of the tools that I use. So I wanted to share this tool with you so that you can utilize this same tool to help you no matter where you are on your financial journey, right? So hopefully, the debt shrinker, what I call it, the debt shrinker, will be helpful to you as well. And first, like just calculating all of your debt, and then making sure that you name all of your debt, and then seeing where that debt ratio is, and then understanding that the goal is to try to get that debt paid off, right? But in the meantime, definitely get it below that 30%. So the tool helps you see how close you are to that 30% goal that we should all be aspiring towards, right? So again, another tool to add to your arsenal, another tool that will be available for download if you are a member of our private Facebook group. So I encourage you to look us up, Cutting Your Taxes 101, 101. I'm going to get this right, I promise you. Cutting Your Taxes 101, Debunking Tax Myths. That's the name of our private Facebook group. Make sure that you are answering all of the qualifying questions so that I can grant you access so that you are able to download this tool and the other tools that we've been sharing with you throughout this series. Feel free while you are in the group to ask questions. We love for you to be engaged while you are in the group. We will be posting different things throughout the group coming to you soon. I'm trying to get over tax season, y'all. But I promise you, I'll be more engaged in the upcoming weeks after I get over this hurdle called tax season. Okay. But we definitely want the group to be a safe place for you to ask questions and for you to learn and grow no matter where you are on your financial journey. So make sure that you visit our Facebook group today, answer those questions so that you can take advantage of downloading this tool, another tool that is imperative that you add to your arsenal. Okay. So again, FYE Finance family, thank you so much for joining me on this Tuesday evening. I hope that this has been helpful and insightful, right? Because all about education and elevation. So until next time, FYE Finance family, you have a blessed and wonderful Tuesday evening, and I'll see you soon.